Yo, what's going on? How's everybody doing today? The rain stopped. That's cool. That's some fog. Not too bad. It's only like 8:30, so it's burning off early today. Definitely had an energetic cleansing of Quincy with the rain and. I'm sorry. Okay. My bad. Didn't know I was in the way. People don't know how to drive anymore. With the big wind event that brought in the big rain all day. Yesterday was a challenge. It's difficult, not impossible, difficult to stay warm. Difficult to stay dry. Difficult to stay adequately fed. I thought that the community supper was last night, and here's the thing: when you when you expect something to be there and it's not, you have to be. That's where you have to maintain your own ki, your own inner strength, your own prana. You can't extend too far. You can't put out too much trust. You can't rely on anybody else but yourself. And this is where actually I find the Christian theology to be dangerous and actually like a disease of the mind, expecting someone to come and save you. Yes, Jesus is our Savior. What does that mean, though? What does that really mean? It means that He empowers you to save yourself. Quite literally, like He gives you the clarity, the wisdom, and the strength through the Holy Spirit, our counselor, to guide us into all truth, to apply our hearts to wisdom, and to strengthen us and to encourage us on our path. He provided the example of how we should behave. And He's not coming to save us. What would that even do? If you're like last year when I was in Idaho in the RV, depressed out of my mind, couldn't even leave the place. It was a 27-day stretch where I didn't leave the RV except to get a few snacks across the street once in a while, which is just enough to stay alive. And that was like a impossible mission, to put shoes on and tie them and walk across the street and show my face in public, as depressed as I was and as like incompetent and miserable. It was nearly impossible. I mean, at that point, if I had enough money and DoorDash was available, I would just be ordering food and have it dropped off. But I had enough stored up. I knew that I was going to get a little depressed, but that was a truly suicidal depression last year. And I was just looking for basically the balls to do it. And waiting for like, how bad can it get before I do it, actually. No. And that was related to the fact that at 49 years old, being overweight and pasty and miserable and slow and I got fat. I was over 200 pounds. And for me, that's fat. I'm only 5'8". And not being in my children's lives, knowing that I wouldn't be welcome at their Halloween or their Thanksgiving festivities. It was Thanksgiving actually last year. I was invited to the festivities with my brother and his girlfriend and their extended family at the house where I'd done a lot of landscaping. The new $1.5 million dream house for Karen and what was his name? It's funny, I don't even remember. Good thing I don't have to mention names out here. But they had built an empire in California, selling ice and water in those portable, like the kiosks, grocery stores, and they had the money. Kind of funny because I worked for them doing landscaping, and I made about $1,500, and they paid me in singles because they get it all from their vending machines, which is fine. It just was a challenge to spend. Although I went through every one of them, and now I've become an expert in serial numbers. Went through every one and read the serial numbers, and I kept all the triples. So to play like dollar bill poker, I had like 61 saved dollar bills that were all triples. And only a few quads, and I think quads are rare. And some interesting serial numbers. There's a website where you can look up, like, is your serial number unique enough to make the bill valuable? And I had a couple that were worth like $2 or $3 each because the serial number was so unique. All right, so I gotta find a dry place to sit. All right, there we go. I do have 3 pairs of pants on, so I think I'll be all right. So let's have a chat. It's by 5:31. There's my number, by the way. Darren. How did I forget Darren? Darren and Karen. Beautiful place out there in Hayden. Beautiful place. I mean, her greenhouse, this glass greenhouse, looked like something out of a Charlotte Bronte novel or something. Is that a name? Dickens novel from the Victorian era. Really beautiful, and they did everything right. So no complaints there. Just if you have the money, use it. Build a garage with a lift for your boat. 2-story garage. Beautiful, truly beautiful situation. But their garage is like a 3-story apartment, a 3-room apartment. And if you have the means, do it. But here's the thing: don't forget, the less fortunate. And don't forget, of course, that's how they kind of considered me, the less fortunate, and gave me work when they didn't have to. So sorry for the sniffling riding my bike. I'm trying to cure that. I can't cure that without Sudafed. And you can't buy Sudafed anymore without getting on a watch list. So I'm going to sniffle a little bit. When I used to race, I would take 4 30-milligram Sudafed before the race so I wasn't blowing snot on my competitors. True story. It dries you up a little bit. Pseudoephedrine. But yeah, Darren and Karen, beautiful place, beautiful house, beautiful landscaping. They had some Idaho white pine or some kind of spruce. These trees were like $10,000 each. I was like, whoa, Jesus. I can live on $10,000. More like 20. That's comfortable for me. A comfortable living every year is about $18,000 to $20,000, and I never really made much more than that. Most I ever made in 1 year is $41,000 at the mill when I was a grader, and I did firewood on the side. And yeah, I lived right here, this house right here with the kids, with 3 of them, and Becca wasn't born yet. This is 99. Natalie came. Yeah, this is around when my wife was pregnant with Natalie. So, and I was, working my ass off. I put on 41 pounds in 1 year. I went from 151 to 192. I was just talking to my son about this, how much muscle I put on. My brother David thought I was on steroids. Because, flipping boards 10 hours a day, that's a working man's PhD. So, what was I talking about? Second night under the bridge. And slept great. And the rain is stopped. We got clear blue skies. Nice. I like it. I have my items charging at the coffee house. Instead of just buying a coffee today, because I had a little money came in. Thanks, Dad. My dad apparently was his computer broke down. It took a week to get a new one in the house or something. I don't know. But he got a long story. And he's trying to get me to the farm. So that's the goal. And once I'm on the farm, this lean time, this pinch I've been going through now nearly 8 months, 7.5 plus months, will be officially over. And that's just fine too. This is not, it's not required that I be poor. This is not a requirement of life for me. I'm making a statement. I've made my point. I've said my piece. These videos are a record of my point of view and what this feels like to be down on your luck in the United States right now. To experience the lack of empathy and the cruelty and being targeted and being hated and being judged and being misunderstood and being just threatened. Threatened's no fun. Threatened's a really bad one. Threatened with arrest, threatened with search and seizure, threatened with bodily harm, my car being damaged, and people going up to my car and smashing the rest of the windows in. Hey, there's Suzanne. It's a cool little car. She drives a Prius, the new Prius with a really slanted roof. Looks cool. She's a sweet lady. Taught my kids in high school. Caleb, Teresa, Natalie. You probably remember Suzanne. By the way, in the interest of full disclosure, although she told me not to tell anybody, should I tell? Months ago, back in the summer, when I was pushing a shopping cart around here in like August, and I ran it. No, June or July. One of those back in the summer. I had a big shopping cart and a big sign that says, "We'll work for money." She asked, "You need money?" Like, yeah. And I sold her a sliver of obsidian that was naturally flaked from the rocks I had collected for $10. That's all I had on me to sell. She gave me $10 for that. Ooh, hello. Good morning. Should put that away. 1 second. If I can put that away. The hair. Yeah. Do I look homeless enough? No, I put the hat on. I look more homeless. Oh, it's nice and sunny, though. I like this. This table will dry quickly. I will dry quickly. I'm more. Oh, I got the anorak. I like the anorak. Yeah. Fit check. Now she carries it around. Every time she sees me, or not every time, but she's shown me a few times. I still got your obsidian. So I sold her a $10 brick of obsidian. But she had mentioned, hey, by the way, if you're really, really in a pinch, I happen to know that back there behind the law library, they leave the door open. So this is local knowledge. This is the information that you need when you come into a town. And I think I've slept there total like 8 or 9 nights total. And that's been blown up. Well, I mean, again, my premise is, what's the problem with that? And that leads into the subject for today's morning vlog. Have you all ever heard of Diogenes the Cynic? And that's like saying Diogenes the dog, because in Greek the word cynic is related to the word dog. So when you say Diogenes the Cynic, he's the original cynic. It's Diogenes the dog. Diogenes the dog. I love Diogenes. I might actually love Diogenes more than I like Jesus. No, about the same. Yeah, pretty much about the same. Maybe, I don't know. King David, Solomon, Elijah. Moses is all right. Jesus, of course, on the list. I like Paul. Alice mentioned she doesn't like Paul because she thinks he hates women. What? I never got that impression. Church has told you to think that. Well, long story. Let's not get into that. Diogenes the Cynic. I love Diogenes quite a bit. He says, he has all kinds of funny stories about Diogenes. He lived in a wine barrel. He was naked most of the time. And he walked through town and he'd show up at the big, Senate meetings and big social, where the hoi polloi and the cognoscenti and all the powers that be would gather, and he'd roll in in tattered clothes and smelling of dog shit or whatever, and just tell him what's what. And he was highly revered. Actually, they allowed him space to be Diogenes. They let him sleep in the wine barrel. Well, let me sleep in this storage closet. That's like the wine barrel. The Cynic points out their inherent insanities. One of the stories about Diogenes I love is that he's sitting at the beach. Well, he's at the beach one day at the water, and he was spooning the ocean, or I guess it would be the Aegean Sea, probably, the Mediterranean, into a cup. And all the townsfolk came out, the senators and the philosophers and, like I said, the cognoscenti and the hoi polloi came out and they're like, Diogenes, what are you doing now? He says, I'm doing the same thing you're doing. I love that story. The most famous story about Diogenes, well, one of them is about he was proud about how little he needed to survive and how frugal and minimalist he was, his lifestyle. And then he's walking around with his bowl, eating something out of his bowl, and he sees a kid run up to the creek and just lap up water and drink it. He's like, oh man, he threw the bowl away. I don't need a bowl anymore. That was good. But the famous story about Diogenes the Cynic was when Alexander the Great, he's so great that Colin Farrell played him in the movies one day. Mediocre movie. Alexander the Great conquers the world, and he comes back to Athens after conquering the world. He says he goes to meet the great philosopher Diogenes, who's sunbathing nude on the beach, enjoying his day. And Alexander, all his pomp and circumstance and his regalia and his crown, all this, he just conquered the world. He's 33 years old. He's at the height of his game. He's got his lovers around. He was a homosexual. That's neither here nor there. He says, it comes to Diogenes the Cynic. He says, Diogenes, I am Alexander the Great. It's a great honor to meet you. Da da da. I've just conquered the world. What can I bring you to honor you? And Diogenes says, you step aside. You're in my sun. See, it feels good. I'm going to say that feels really good. So that's Diogenes the Cynic. And I adopt that role. I am Diogenes the Cynic in Quincy right now. That role's about to end. I feel on the cusp of a major shift in my life. I have a few bucks. I could pay for a ride to the farm. If anyone is willing to give me a ride to the Genesee farm, I got $20 and a cup of coffee, okay? I'm not, no joke. Like, it'll take you, well, I guess it's worth more than $20. But if someone wanted to go to Greenville anyways, and you need a few bucks of gas, anybody watching this, anybody, Teresa, anybody who can give me a ride to the farm, all the way to the farm, not like to the Taylorsville Y where I got to ride a bike 14 miles and then, put out that kind of effort, but like an actual driving me, like I hire you like an Uber. I guess an Uber would be, well, where would the nearest Uber? There's no Uber in Quincy, by the way. I mean, I guess an Uber would be like $80. I'm not paying that. I got $20. I got 20 on it, plus a coffee, maybe a sandwich. We'll see. But I got you. I need to get there. It doesn't have to happen today. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of your life, that's where I need to be. Hopefully the sniffling will stop. And hopefully I can make a good impression. I won't present myself as homeless, because she has a prejudice against the homeless. I don't like that. That's on her, not me. But I think that's enough. I think I wanted to talk about Diogenes. I wanted to get the morning sun, got the morning coffee, and today, instead of just buying the coffee, I also bought a lemon poppy seed muffin for $4.60 for a muffin. I wanted to be nice, and I was going to even put a tip in, but I'm like, yeah, I'll give you a 40-cent tip. This is annoying. I'll give you a 40-cent tip, make it $5. But there was no option to make a 40-cent tip. So it's like, I'm not paying over $5 for a muffin. I don't care how much money I have. I don't care if all my ships come in. I don't care if, my inheritance eventually came in, which will happen. At the moment, that's not going to happen right now. But my dream is to buy the house, not sell it and get the inheritance, split it with my siblings. Family home, which is now worth over $1 million. Strange that, yeah. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. I'm getting off into the weeds on this. But what I was getting at, even if I came up on, say, I had $250,000 in my bank account and, $10,000 in my pocket, I'm not paying more than $5 for a muffin. It's not happening. I don't care that you heat it up and give me a pat of butter on it. It's like 300 calories for $5. Diogenes the Cynic. Diogenes the dog. I guess I'm kind of a dog. I wish I was a dog. You'd treat me better. True story. In this culture, you would treat me better. Which is one of the reasons why a lot of homeless people have dogs. So that the dog gets attention and gets fed before the person does. Now, I know a lot of homeless with dogs who are way better at caring for the dogs than housed people. I notice housed people and people who go to work every day leave the dogs home to bark all day and bark at walkers, passers-by, such as this Quintopia owner dude on the corner. And his dog just barks me as I walk by. I don't like it. But anyways, that's all well and good. As Diogenes the Cynic and Diogenes the dog, I'm going to walk back to my luxury coffee house and pick up on devices that are charging and not take up their space for the day. And I'm going to pick up a broom from the hub and start sweeping. That's the goal today. Looks pretty good right now. This is nice and clean. Yeah, they came through with the big mowers and blowers, and there's not a single leaf on the walking path, which is great. I did sweep it once, but it's not necessary when they run the blowers. But I'm going to sweep the rest of Quincy today, I think. My hand is healed enough to sweep more. And there's the broom right there. And I have no other agenda. And I have $42 in my pocket. And a beautiful anorak. I like this. It suits me quite well. This is good. This is beautiful. We like these things. We love the sunshine. It's going to be in the upper 50s today. That's nice. In Idaho, I don't think I saw anything over 50 degrees from early November until I left in March. So I'm used to it. Now again, start these videos. I need two hands. I got my coffee and my phone. Can I turn this? Yes. Diogenes the Cynic. By the way, I would like to see here in Quincy, those pile of rocks turn into a beautiful little fire pit. I can just do that for Quincy as a donation of my time and skill. Build a beautiful fire pit right there. It doesn't have to be fire in there. Just as like there could be fire in there eventually, one day, possibly, maybe next Tuesday. But that would be nice. I'd like to see that. They already collected the stones, and they're already grown over with grass. I'll just put I think that's fitting because this was Pizza Factory that caught on fire. It was a brick building that burned to the ground. You see here, I take lunch here a lot. I work at Safeway. I had lunch at this Pizza Factory many, many times. So I think a fire pit is a good reminder of the power of fire. That's just my opinion. I'm Diogenes. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Bien, ¿y tú? I'm going to go back to my spot and finish my second cup of coffee and start sweeping. God bless America, yo. Love you guys. Over and out.